We're back again. One more time, Memorial Day holiday weekend. This is the team that I'd mentioned in a couple videos that is my first team to draft. Made a couple big trades, so this is going to be kind of where I got this team last year. The picks I made didn't have many picks. Then trades, basically what the roster was coming into this year when I was trying to sell it. Then it's going to be the trades I made, the roster currently, the picks I have this year, and guys who I'm probably going to try and keep, or thinking about keeping, and then my future picks to show you where this team's hopefully going to go. But I could not trade this team or sell this team when I was coming into the year. The roster was a little bit, and you'll see, is a little jumbled. Got it pared down a little bit, but people couldn't see the forest for the trees on this one. Had a couple first round picks, had 4 second round picks, I think it was, somewhere in there. And because I've traded a couple of them away, and I had future picks. So, but nobody could see the forest for the trees. The team's looking a lot better now after a couple trades. And just been kind of dumping picks also to get, how should I say it, to get future assets. So we'll go through it here, and hopefully you will see where we're at. All right. First one. So when I got the team last year, these are the picks that I had and I made. So I've actually traded to get some of these picks. I had 110, so I got Bateman. This team was sorely deficient on wide receivers. It had Chubb, it had Swift. So, and it had Hunt. So it had Hunt, Chubb, Swift, Gaskin. So I thought it was all right. Well, this has a pretty good makings of a start of a team with running back. So I thought that was pretty solid. Here we go a year later, and it's not. I wound up trading Hunt away for an early second round pick. So, and that I think became part of the Gaskin deal, or a trade here we'll get to in a bit. So it's just kind of it's funny how the little trades make big trades, and they spider web into each other if you're making trades. If you're not making trades, if you're only making draft picks, you only have your draft picks, you don't have extra picks to play with, and you can't increase your roster's value, overall value. A friend who wants to, just got him in, been trying to counsel him and say, do not take Snoop Connor with pick 1-5. It's not this league, but it's another league. Well, he really likes Snoop Connor. He doesn't have any idea of what the value of these draft picks are yet. So you kind of have to, I'm trying to show him, I'm trying to send him to places to look. Not my videos, other people's videos, to say, hey, this is how people are thinking. These do mock drafts on FanPros. See where your guy is. Well, I really like him, and I think he's going to be a star. Well, that's great if he's going to be a star. Get him in the 4th round. Pick him around early. That's plenty, especially in this year's draft, right? All right, so as you can see, with this one, I got Bateman. Bateman looks like he's going to have a big year this year, so we're right on the cusp of that. Josh Palmer, I thought he was going to break out this year. That's why I nabbed him early, or in the middle of the 3rd round last year, which was a good price point for him at that point. But this roster was deficient on wide receivers, so I was just trying to pile up wide receivers that I thought were going to have a shot at maybe breaking out, that I'd read stuff on. Now, I mean, these guys, I didn't have half the knowledge I have on the rookie class this year, just because I've been watching everything a lot more closely, got into more YouTube videos, watching people doing their videos on YouTube, grabbing bits of knowledge from different people's prospect profiles, draft capital, all the different valuations for everybody. So there are some guys who on this list that I would take now, and there's some guys who I still kind of like. So for different reasons, a couple videos, you've seen Des Fitzpatrick on here. So 5'10", I was taking a shot in the dark on him. I think that he could still be the 2 or 3 receiver at some point this year for Tennessee. So that's that. But yeah, Josh, the one I thought was a real steal was 5'1" with Jeff Wilson. Now this last year was a draft, was actually started in May. So it was like May 30th or something like that last year. So when I drafted Jeff Wilson, that was prior to his knee injury. I really thought that Jeff Wilson was going to wind up being the number one running back because I figured Mostert would get hurt last year, and I was getting a gem at 1.5, right? So some of the reasons for that. Let's move a little bit more forward. So this is the roster that when I started the league year, right? This is the roster that I was trying to trade. Okay. So here we have all the players on here, and as you can see, same quarterbacks, a couple extra running backs are in there, more wide receivers. Osborne, I'd picked up on waivers, Renfro, Curtis Samuel, a lot of guys who I'm trying to take a chance on upgrading. As you can see here, the guys are either old or weak, basically, with the wide receiver position, and which is one of the big reasons why I couldn't sell this roster. Even though there's Chubb and Swift on this roster, I wound up using a first round pick that I traded for, and I got Dak with that last year, knowing that I needed a real quarterback for this roster, right? I have two decent tight ends here, Schultz and Troutman. Picked Troutman for the upside, and I'm pretty sure that I have Tunyon on my IR. So we'll take a look at that next because you got to see the IR and the taxi squad people, right? Boom. So, excuse me one second. All right. So I had James Winston, Shark, Corey Davis, and that was a terrible trade I made last year. Hopefully it's going to have some future benefits this year. Tunyon is there, as you can see, and Carson Wentz. So that was kind of the IR spot. I thought Slayton was going to be a free agent this year, so I was trying to take a chance on him in several leagues. So, and Philip Lindsay, he winds up being nothing, just signs in Miami. Probably wind up getting cut or bounced around. But the thing is with this, and I'll just tell you, it's to last year, my wide receiving core was so short, as you can see what it looked like coming into this year, that I had Cooper Kupp last year. And yes, I'm going to not show my face at this point because it makes me sad. I had high hopes for Cooper Kupp, but all the pundits were out there saying that Woods is going to be the monster. Woods is going to be top 5. And I'm like, I got a sneaky feeling about Kupp. But this roster was so short on wide receivers, and I thought that I was close to being able to compete, which I was not, okay? Because I thought I could, make another trade and get another wide receiver. But I traded Kupp for Shark and Corey Davis. And so I traded 400 points last year for, at the time I was like, all right, well, these guys have upside. And at the time it was 5 points by value, a fair trade. But I got 2 guys instead of 1, and 2 guys with upside, and 2 guys who were several years younger. So that's why I made the trade. And so that really didn't come through. I mean, it was made for the right reasons, but the wrong results had happened. So, all right. So let's continue this a little bit further then. All right. So we got to start at the bottom. Well, it's actually right here, but all right there. But as we go up, those are the newer trades. All right. So as you can see here at the very bottom, started off and I gave up a 3rd round pick to the champions 3rd round pick, and I got Kelvin Ridley, and it wasn't from that team, but somebody else had it. So as you can see, stats gave up Kelvin Ridley. So I figured if I'm going to sell this team next year, I want somebody who's going to be on the roster and who's roster worthy to sell the team to next year. And I need to have a couple wide receivers. Hopefully Bateman has a good year, and Ridley. Well, then I've got the start of a nice receiving core to be able to sell. So that's why I made that move. And as you can see, I stacked up my IR squads with guys trying to take a shot to see if somebody goes to a good landing spot or could explode in the offseason to try to get some value out of them. Well, the second trade from the bottom here, going up, the Carson Wentz, Curtis Samuel trade. I identified I wasn't going to be able to use my 4-2 pick, and I decided, well, I'm going to try and bump it up to see if I can get it in the 3rd round, because if it says 3rd round, even though it's a couple picks difference, 3rd rounders people think are much more valuable than 4th rounders. All right? So, with that being said, I made this trade knowing that I was going to wind up cutting Wentz. I was going to wind up cutting Curtis Samuel, who I like. He helped me win a championship 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, a Superflex league. So I like him, but I had to move him with the roster. I just couldn't hang on to him. So I wound up making this trade. So 4-2 became 3-11, and I got a couple of fourth round picks for the future for guys for all three things that I was going to cut, right? So I thought that was a good move. I mean, the value might not have been there, but roster wise, roster composition wise, that's why I made this move. So continuing on with the theme, I identified that I didn't want KJ Osborne, or I wasn't going to be able to keep him based off of what I was having on the roster and the number of players. So I was trying to find guys who weren't at the bottom, not at the top, but kind of more in this range, which is where KJ was on my roster. And I'm like, all right, if I can get it up to the mid third round or move up, I can do that. So now I've taken a 4-2 and made it a 3-4, trying to make it saleable, right? So that gives me a bunch of third round picks, and I'll be showing you that in a minute. I still have a bunch of picks. So this is when it started changing. So I'm trying to stack it up for future. Well, then we get up to the second one from the top. A guy came at me and he offered me to go back 5 picks, right, from 2-2 to 2-7, and give up 1-2 for Antonio Gibson. I know everybody is saying that he's sliding down boards. Sliding down? But if he was in this draft right now, he would easily be picked 2 to 5, right? So I think I got great value on that one. And it turns me into an instant contender. Now I've got Chubb, I've got Gibson, and I've got Swift. All right. So Bateman is my number one wide receiver, and we'll get into the rosters here a little bit and show you that. So I have a nice nucleus for a good backfield now, and it's going to help if I want to sell this team next year, depending on where I'm at, right? So then I was rolling around and thinking, well, what can I do? I've still got more pieces that I don't want. And I was like, well, what can I get for Hunter Renfrow? I don't like the fact that Hunter Renfrow is behind Adams, behind Waller, right? He is probably behind, at best, he's the option number 3, right? As far as, catching balls. And then you also have all the running backs and stuff like that, or Jacobs and stuff like that in Vegas. So I was thinking, well, he's option number 3, bare minimum. I'm not going to be able to use my pick 3-6, and I'm going to be cutting AJ Green. Just not going to hang on to him. So I packaged all that up and threw out a couple offers. The guy who had Mooney accepted it. So now I picked up Mooney, Gibson, and Kelvin Ridley. And really, the only pieces that I was going to use were 2-2 and 1-2, right? I upgraded Renfrow to Mooney. I got rid of 1.12, and I moved from 2.2 to 2.7. It's basically all I've done. And I still have 3.4, which is a pick that I'm probably not going to use, but if I cut deep enough into my roster, I'll make sure I use it, right? If I can't get an adequate offer with it. So that's where we're at with that. Let's take it a little bit further. All right, so now I'll rearrange this a little bit. So this is the roster I currently have. So as it stacks up. So as you can see, it should be looking a lot better here now. And I'm down to 22 players on here. So my biggest concerns are, Adam Troutman, Darius Slayton is probably a cut, right? And then as I go up, am I keeping Gaskin? Am I keeping DJ Dallas? And obviously Sam Darnold will probably be a cut. So I'm just trying to make some more maneuvers here yet so I can get rid of stuff. But the roster is shaping up pretty good if I've got Bateman and Mooney for the top 2 wide receivers to go along with Shark or Corey Davis or Russell Gage to fill in the third spot. I still have Terrace Marshall and Josh Palmer for growth potential because they're young guys, and then Kelvin Ridley for next year. And he should rebound with some value next year, right? Worst case scenario, it was a late third round pick this year that I gave for him. Who cares, right? So I think that I should really be good with Schultz and Tunyon, but Troutman has value, but for some reason in this league nobody wants to give it. So with that being said, I'm going to show you what I actually have for current picks. So because I got the 2.7, I still have 2.12. I've got 3.02, 3.4, and then 6.2. I'm not going to plan on using 6.2. So I've got 22 rostered players here. And I need to get rid of 4 to be able to make the picks that I have if I don't make any more trades, right? So I think I can accomplish that pretty easily. I can get rid of Sam Darnold and Slayton. Boom, done, right? That's 2 picks. I think those are pretty easy. Then the question becomes DJ Dallas, Russell Wilson, right? Or Jeff Wilson. I still like Jeff Wilson being able to get some backfield help, but he has no value right now. So at this point, I'm pretty much of the mind that I could probably cut him loose and pick him up again before the preseason starts and stuff like that, as long as there's not an injury to Mitchell, right, that I can get him back if I really want to. So that would give me 4 guys to cut. But I would like to move Troutman and I would like to move Gaskin, because here's where the kicker comes in. Where the heck is that? I must have missed it. I thought I had 1-2 on this roster. What the heck? But at any rate, I've got 1.2 in this league also. So yeah. The 304 was supposed to be, yeah. So, yep. At any rate, so with 1.2, if I get Walker, well then DJ Dallas would be the receiving portion of that backfield. So sorry I messed up the graphic at any rate. And then so with that being said, it would further increase the backfield. That is if I think I have enough there. But at 2.7, if Alec Pierce or David Bell or somebody like that is there, that can bolster the wide receiving core a little bit more. 3.2 and 3.4 is dart throws. Strong, the running back, or Algier if he's still there, or Khalil Shakir. There's still some options out there, or guys who other people cut at that point. So that's where I kind of am at with this team. And then I guess the last thing to show you here is with that I can give you, this is what the future picks are looking like, right? And so you can see I've got still my first, a second. I've got a couple extra thirds next year and a couple extra fourths with the strong draft. And I've already got 4th round picks for next in 2024. So one of my nice moves I like to do, and I kind of showed it to you, is using those further down picks with a player to move up a round or two, right? And so just because you have a 4th round pick doesn't mean that you're going to use it just for a 4th round pick. Use your assets wisely. Don't waste them, all right? So let's see if I've got any more left on here. I don't think so. That's going to be the size of the slideshow. I think I've given a pretty good and pretty quick overall view of this team. I do think that it's going to wind up competing, but I don't know if it's going to be just to make the playoffs or if it's going to be a money team, make me some money. And so we will see how that goes. If it does wind up looking like I'm going to be getting a higher end 1st round draft pick, if I need to bolster my wide receiving core during the season, I'm not going to have an issue using my 1st round pick next year if I think I'm going to wind up being 9, 10, 11, 12, right? So if I wind up doing that and I can get an Amari Cooper or a difference-making wide receiver for that year, that would be a good choice and probably to make some money, because that's what these leagues are about, making money, and it's not always about next year. So you got to remember that. But all right, we'll be done with this video and we'll go from there. Until next time, take care.